Hi and welcome to another edition of In the Mood to Scrap. I'm Wilna Furstenberg. The theme of today's mood board is light. Early in the week, a friend gave me a card that had the most beautiful quote on light, and it just touched my heart. So when I was faced with doing this In the Mood to Scrap video, I was thinking, where do I start? And I just searched for light on Pinterest and I got some beautiful images. I also searched string lights, little lights. I searched for sun flare, and that is the feeling that I want to convey for this mood board. Something summery and fun. I also was thinking of lights and string lights like this, and I was trying to think of how can I translate it into a scrapbooking page to create that same lightness and feeling of light. The products that I used for my page mainly comes from Crate Paper, the Peer collection, and I absolutely love the feeling of this collection. I think it's airy and light and beautiful and everything that I wanted to convey in this page. I also love that handwritten stickers, and I have some embroidery floss that I used for the strings, some pinwheels, and then these beautiful embellishments called Perfect Accents by Webster's Pages. They remind me of those cookies that I pinned, and the cookies actually came up when I searched for light, and I thought, wow, I have something in my stash that resembles that, so I pulled that out. Also some Studio Calico gold stars, and all around just some fun product to use and to play with. I'm also going to be using this stencil by Prima Paper, and I'm going to show you a cool technique to enhance the background with it. So without further ado, let's start the page. The first thing you want to do is pull out some gel medium and gesso, and gel medium is a lovely magical thing. You can see how nice and thick it is, and what I love about gel medium is that it keeps its form. So once it's dry, it keeps its form. So I just mixed a little bit of gesso in there, and I added some glitter. I placed my mask or the stencil over the white heavy cardstock, and with a craft stick I'm just going to spread this gooey, lovely stuff on top of it. What I love about the medium, like I said, is that it keeps its form, and I wanted to create a bit of dimension with these triangles. So I'm just spreading the medium lightly over the triangles. You will also see that I didn't even cover all the triangles on the page. So once you're done with that, carefully lift your mask and you will see how pretty it looks. It really makes perfect little triangles. What I wanted to do next is just to add a little bit of shimmy shine to it. So I took some white glitter that was almost done. I added a bit of gold and I just sprinkled it over the wet medium. You can hardly see it, but it does shine and shimmer wonderfully once it's dry. This page I did with gesso and the mask, and then it was okay, but when I did it with the gel medium, I was in love with it. Also, what I love about this Prima mask or stencil is that it's the material it's made of. It's almost like a polymer plastic, so it washes off under a running water with warm water and a little bit of soap, and you can dry it easily and use it again and again. I think it's a very functional stencil to have in your stash. Also, when you are looking to buy that stencil, I'm just mentioning there's a 6x6 and a 12x12 version of it, so just make sure that you buy the right one. Okay, I trimmed my paper a little bit smaller, and I'm going to add just a touch of gold and pink mist. The whole idea of this page was to tone it down, to keep it as simple as possible, to keep even the texture like I've created already, very subtle, tone on tone, and it must be a fascinating page to look at. That's my whole goal. So at first you might not see the background texture, but as you look, you are drawn in to see all the little details about it. So I'm using my embossing tool just to not heat it up, but just to dry it quickly. And in the end, I did go with a carousel background paper. I wasn't sure if it was too colorful, and I did change it at some stage, as you will see, but in the end I did go with it, and I think it's beautiful. The picture that I'm using is one of Jana, my youngest girl, and because I'm looking at sun flare, I chose a sun flared image. Now, a sun flared photograph is where the sun is behind the subject, so you can see that her face is in the shade with this beautiful light behind her. And usually when you face your camera into the sun, you don't get a very sharp picture, you get a very soft picture, so it might even look out of focus, and it's just because the camera finds it hard to focus when there's so much light in the lens. So I think it's a beautiful thing to try. If you haven't tried sun flare photographs, just search for it online and you'll find dozens of examples. Also, I'm using the ephemera pack by the Pier, and it has these beautiful chipboard slide frames in it, and they nest into one another, and I love the colors. They're subtle and beautiful. So I'm working here to see where I should put what, and in the end it was very easy for me because of the beautiful products. Also using a pinwheel, and I chose the pink and gray one because of the image that I found on Pinterest that had pretty pink. There it is, the pink with the gray, and I just love that image, so that reminded me of that. Here you can see I'm trying a monochromatic background to see if that doesn't look better, and in the end I'm going to switch it back. So now you know it ends well. Right, working with string. Now this was a little more complicated than I thought. To add here a little thing like a string, a piece of string with hot glue is not as easy as it looks. But I'm glad to show you my struggles. And believe me, this video is one where I don't edit out my struggles. I'm going to show you later on another struggle I had. And I think it's okay, so that you know that you're not the only one struggling. I struggle too. So I'm trying to adhere it, and basically what you want to do is lay down a glue dot and just put the string lightly on it. Don't press it down, otherwise your fingers are going to get full of glue. Anyway, and so I put my fingers literally in it solidly there. Luckily the glue wasn't too hot. So now I'm adhering my embellishments with a little bit of hot glue, and it will help when you remember where you planned your picture. So I'm just adding a little bit more there. I adhered my photograph with double-sided tape, if you saw that. I really try not to do it with hot glue. And I love placing my embellishments first before I adhere them solidly to the paper. I really wanted to use that little flag with the gold shimmer just to add some more shine to it. And here you can see my little strings are starting to look more like strings. In the end it didn't fall perfectly, but again, I'm not in the perfect business. Right, I'm adding the sequins now, and the sequins is in the ephemera pack of the Pier, and I love the gold sequins. And I'm using hot glue that one uses with foam. So the hot glue is a little bit not as runny, so it can make a perfect dot that you can put down and just add a sequence on top of it. And a little clothespin, and if you have some of those, just be careful when you take them out. They are so very sensitive little things, and they can come apart easily. Now I'm adding my gold stars, and now it starts to look like the vision that I had in my head and the way I wanted the mood board to look with those couple of stars. Right, adding my title. Now, this is also a part that I'm not going to edit out. I want to show you the struggle, and man, I had a hard time deciding where to add my title. So first of all, I added it to the side of Jana's face on the photo, but when I finished, it didn't make sense. It didn't read easily, and I didn't like it. Just looked like a bunch of letters. It didn't say light to me. Sometimes when you add letters underneath each other, it does work, but in this case, it just didn't work. I laid it down very softly, mainly because I knew that if I wasn't happy with it, I wanted to pick it up, and that's exactly what I did. So, not happy there, I put it on top. And the reason why I'm showing you this blooper reel, or this just keeping it real, because I think sometimes you look at the videos and think, oh wow, everything happens so easily for me or for them, and it's really not the case. Sometimes it's really hard, and you can't decide where to do what, or you look at multiple options before you have the finished result. So it didn't work on top because it looked like it was coming out of her head, and I wasn't happy with that. And so I moved it again to the bottom, and there I was happy with how it looked. So I'm just spacing it correctly, and I love this hand-drawn thickers. I think of all the thickers, it's one of my favorite alphabets. So once that's done, the page is almost done. Just adding a little hot glue to that little pin. And like I said, be careful when you touch them, they break easily. I'm going to switch out the background paper, and I apologize in advance for covering up that beautiful carousel paper, but I bought a couple of them and I love it so much. At least I'm using it, and it's not sitting in my stash. But it is really a beautiful paper, and it's one of those papers that I really want 10 of and just use on every single page. So now I'm adhering the cardstock to the background paper, and I'm going to distress the edges a little. And what I did is I distressed it, and then I didn't like it too much, and then I just folded it back. But what's nice about it is that it had some texture to it, and I love that. Now you can see the background, how the background shimmer is coming through, and the texture of everything on the page is light and airy and exactly like the mood board. So the last thing I want to do is add the journaling, and for that I just went ahead and decided to write on my photograph right next to Jana's face, and I used I can't remember what pen it is, just the permanent marker. About the journaling, can you see my nails there? I shimmered them up for this page. When I'm writing about it, I started out to tell Jana that she's really a light in my life, and then it just went into a little prayer for her, where I asked God to look over her, to protect her, to keep her in all her ways. And I think it's special to me that my girls one day, when they read all my pages, it will have so much meaning to them, that they know that they were continually in my heart and in my prayers. More than that, that I dedicated them to God so many times every day. And I hope that in my scrapbooking they'll see just a little glimpse of that. I think that's the one thing of being a mum, is that it keeps you on your knees. Finishing up my journaling, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp on the page with a roller stamp, just add some sentiments. And I'm using my big brush pen there, I don't know if you can see, in grey, to color the stamps with. Truth being told that I couldn't find my stamp pad, it was in my cupboard, but the pen was close by, so I just quickly colored the stamp and stamped with it. I love the grey, it's subtle and muted. And at this stage I reminded myself to not overdo it. So I think sometimes we can work a little too much and get carried away. So this is the page. You can see more details on 2Ps. I loved making this page, and I can't wait to see the pages you come up with. Thank you so much for watching another edition of In de Moed te Scrap. I'm Wilna Furstenberg.